So today I've got Lesa Groom with me, and I love that she's waving. I think you're the first one that I've said we've got Lesa Groom, and you're waving to. Yeah, there you go. That's awesome. I love it. And so Lesa, why don't you just tell us a little bit about Lesa Groom's world, and well, first of all, tell us what you've done here at Pleasant Valley, because you've been very involved even before me arriving here. So yeah, tell us about your Pleasant Valley role and how you've served.
Wow. Well, this will tell you how old I am. I started going to Pleasant Valley during my college years at William Jewell. So that was
Oh,
around.
so only like 8 years ago.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that was 77. Do the math. Uh, so yeah, I started going to Pleasant Valley during my college years, and then I was away a couple years after that, and then came back. Officially, I think we've been members since '87, and that's when I joined the choir. And I've pretty much been in every pageant, every singing Christmas tree, every light show, every patriotic service.
Yes, you've done the full tour of duty, is what we call that.
Yes, I loved every minute of it. So I also worked in the college ministry a couple years, and I worked with the farmers market and done a few things, here and there. So
That's awesome. So 87, that was when the Pleasant Valley building that a lot of us know that's here on this property, it was not the way it was back in 87.
Oh, no. 87 was when Benny Stouffer came to lead. And then, yeah, we didn't have the new building to 97.
Yeah,
So,
and for those of you that don't know, Benny Stouffer is one of my predecessors, well-loved, super great guy. So yeah, back in 87. So, and how did you show up at the church? I mean, did you just pick it out of the yellow book back in the 70s, or?
It must have been word of mouth. It was funny because Vernon reminded me so much of my the pastor at Sycamore Hills Baptist, where I attended during my teenage years, and they could have been twins. And at that time, I think when I first attended at the old church, Vernon was still preaching up on the third floor under a basketball goal. So,
Nothing like having a sermon that's a slam dunk, huh?
Right, that's right.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. That's good.
So yeah, I've been fortunate to see the progression of all the building campaigns and the growth, and yeah, it's been cool.
That's fun. And tell us a little bit about your family. So just tack your family onto this. Tell us a little bit about where you guys are family-wise these days.
So my husband is Kelly, and we are both retired right now. We've been retired about 3 years. He was a teacher and football coach. Most of his years were spent at Blue Spring South. And then we have our 2 girls. Our oldest is Cammie, and our youngest is Shay. Cammie is attending Michigan Law School, and this is her final year.
Wow, she got some smarts from you.
Yeah, it's all me. That's right.
We won't tell Kelly that.
No, and but he knows it. And then Shay is a professional soccer player in her 6th year with the NWSL, which is the National Women's Soccer League. It's a lot of people ask, just because they don't know if it's a recreational league. No, it's very professional. It's the highest level other than the women's national team, which is the Olympic World Cup team. But anyway.
Right. So you're being kind of modest. Like this is legit soccer.
It is
So
a bit, yeah.
yes. So this is not just my child is in a soccer league or my son is in baseball. It's just about like, hey, this is one step from the Royals, right?
Yeah. Well, we wish money-wise it was.
Yeah. Well,
It's getting
sorry about
better though.
that.
They, in just the 6 years that she's been in they've made great strides. And um, I mean, it's neat to see her kind of be a pioneer of it. And
That's cool.
so, in all those years of traveling and driving, and it's good to see it pay off.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of parents who are in the thick of sports, and you kind of wonder sometimes, all right, is it worth all of this? And not every situation is going to end up being how your daughter's was, but you don't know like the friendships that are formed, the influence that they might have, or where it might end up. So that's cool. All right, so
Can I insert one other thing, just so I have
yes,
equal time for my other daughter, Cammie?
yes.
She's involved in ultimate frisbee, and she plays at the top of her sport as well. Even though it's not, I guess, not really considered professional, but um, she plays all over the world and was supposed to play in some world championships in July. Of course, that got canceled because of the pandemic. But and she was just recognized as being um, she was picked as a top 10 decade player. So
So what do you feed your children that they become these amazing athletes?
yeah, they would laugh because I'm I'm not much of a cook. Well, I've become a decent cook since the pandemic. That's one good thing that's come out of it. But back then we were traveling and driving, and everything was so busy. We I didn't feed them very good at all. So
Well,
I,
the fact that they're at their top tier of what they do, and even though I like ultimate frisbee, I'm familiar with it, but it obviously is not going to get the same global attention that soccer does, especially outside of the States, but it's become more popular in the States. But ultimate frisbee, it is a major thing, and those people that are on the outside don't know that, but to be on the top tier of that, that's commendable.
yeah, something she just needed, something to fill her void. I mean, she grew up with all the regular sports, basketball and track and soccer. And then in college, when she went to WashU, is where she kind of got connected with that ultimate stuff, and it just fell in love with it. And um, she's pretty good at it.
Okay, so real quick, ultimate frisbee, because people are probably
Right.
thinking, oh, frisbee golf, like,
No,
isn't that
yeah, not
nice?
frisbee golf.
It's not frisbee golf, folks. This is like run your backside off.
It's a team sport. Yeah.
It is a team sport, and you have two opposing teams on a field. How big is the field size?
Um, it's usually played on either a soccer or football field, so about 100 yards. And you have your
Yep.
end zones, and it's just, yeah, running and catching and throwing and all that. So,
It's kind of fun to watch. When people are done watching this interview, they should hop on YouTube and search for ultimate frisbee.
yeah. And it started in the 60s, and then I think lost a little of its popularity, but yeah, they're experiencing a revival right now.
Hmm. That's
So,
very
and
cool.
they tried to get it in the Olympics, and but that fell through here recently. So
Well, and snowboarding didn't make it for a couple of attempts, so it's just a matter of
right,
time.
and she'll be too old.
That's usually how it works, right? Like
Yeah, you're
as
right.
soon as you get a breakthrough, then the opportunity's not there. Well, it would be cool though to see that become an Olympic sport, especially as, I mean, it'd be a milestone for her to see that happen.
Yeah.
All right, so let's move on to question number 2. Question number 2 is this. Can you tell us something that most people may not know about you? And there might be some people at Pleasant Valley that know about whatever you're going to share. And just for people to know, I've got no clue what she's going to share. I just told her to keep it legal, like I've told everyone else. So,
there's a couple things. I think one thing that most people wouldn't know, when I was a teenager, I took flying lessons, and I was like one test away from getting my private pilot's license.
really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. Do you know that I love flying and aviation and airplanes. Have we ever even talked about this?
No, I don't believe so.
So what made you go that far? And then, because there's a lot of flying hours that you need to get in order to get to that point.
Yeah. My dad was first interested in it and kind of pushed me into it. And it was right in the middle of my college years. So I really didn't have the time to devote to it, because I was driving clear out to Lee Summit to take my lessons. But I did do my solo flight, which I can always say I did that. The only thing I didn't do was my cross-country solo. But I passed all my written tests, and it's an expensive hobby, and it wasn't something that I really fell in love with, so that's why I didn't continue. That's kind of a bigger level pilot.
You were you would have been a pioneer, because I had a friend at another church, and she was a pilot.
Yeah.
And she flew for large airlines, and she would tell the story that people would they would come onto the aircraft, and then they would hand her their luggage and jackets. And so she had to find a polite way of saying, thanks, I'll make sure this gets taken care of. And then when they found out that she was the pilot, they were like totally embarrassed. So you were, that's a pioneer. That's very cool.
Oh.
Do you ever have a desire to continue with that? Or are you like, nah, that's a past life?
Yeah, I think it's past life. Yeah.
That's so cool. Sometime I will share with you offline. I beat the inventor of the Mooney aircraft in Scrabble. I'll tell you about that story.
All right. Okay.
I need to tell you the story about the airplane ride that I took with a guy who wanted to test the autopilot system on the flight. And then after we landed, he told me that he had crashed a plane before.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
that's
sometime I will unpack that story for you. Not now though. So
yeah.
Okay. So the flying thing, that's very cool. I'm interested in that. So, but you said you had a couple of things here.
Oh, the other thing, a lot of people know this about me, that I was adopted as a baby, and but what's kind of cool about that now is, my mom and dad are both deceased, and my brother, and so this kind of came at a good time in 2017, when the state of Missouri allowed us to obtain our original birth certificates. And so between that and the onset of Ancestry and doing a DNA test, I've been on this journey of, discovering who my biological parents were, and some half siblings, and on. And that's really been interesting. Some great stories have come out of that. And so, like I said, the timing of that has just been really neat. So
that's just within the last 3 years. That's a long time to go without ever having set eyes on your own birth certificate.
Yeah, and what was interesting about it too is I had a little bit of information from my social worker when I was a baby. Of course, I didn't know her. But she had typed up a few little facts. It was like an interview she had done with my biological mother, and but no names, no places. And so when I got my original birth certificate and saw the information about my father, who I thought was my father, I could tell the information didn't match. So it's like, I'll probably never figure out who it was. But through Ancestry, I made a connection with a gal that did an extensive family tree of people that I had all these matches with, and so I talked to her on the phone one day, and we just couldn't figure out, you know, with the information I had, who my father might be. And right before we hung up, I told her, I said, I had heard that maybe my biological father went by the name of Shorty. And boy, that clicked with her. And I just opened a whole new world. So yeah, I found out who it was. And
Wow.
so I've met a lot of my paternal side. My maternal side is kind of interesting because my mother's first name was Dewanwin. I know it's a weird name.
I don't think I've ever even heard of someone's name being Dewanwin.
Dewanwin. You know, I used to say my mom's name was Ardith, and I thought that was strange, and this one was stranger. But it's an Indian name, and it means singing lady.
What?
And, yeah. Yeah.
That's crazy.
So when I saw that name, I immediately, Googled it because I thought, how many people are named Dewanwin? And immediately, all this information came up. And it turned out it wasn't about my mother, it was about my grandmother. She was full-blooded Sioux Indian. And she, her real name was Elizabeth Thompson, but she went by the Indian name Dewanwin because she was a part of the Chautauqua movement, which was an educational movement in the 20s. So she and two other Indian girls traveled the United States, educating people about the Indian race. And I have newspaper articles from the 20s saying she was a contralto, and she was considered like the best contralto of her race. And she was connected with an Indian girl. Here's a book on her, Teata. And Teata is like well known in Oklahoma. She was a great storyteller. There's even a movie that I haven't watched yet about her, but that's who my grandmother traveled with. So anyway, stories like that has made this really interesting.
That is really cool. So do you feel like, I mean, you use the word journey. Do you feel like you've completed that journey, or is there still more that you are like, I'm still kind of discovering, there's still more work to do to kind of learn more?
Oh yeah, there's more to do. Yeah. I never at any time felt, I needed any of this. It was never like that for me. I was, it was just out of curiosity. And my mom was adopted as well. So, and she always wanted to know more too. So, yeah.
That's cool that you've got that bond with your mom. And, Scripture has a lot to say about adoption and being adopted sons and daughters. And you probably understand that in a much more real way than most people. So
yeah, you're chosen. Yeah,
that's very cool.
Always told I was special because I was chosen.
That's cool. Okay, so Last question is this before we sign off here. I just ask everyone how we can be praying for you in the weeks, months to come. And I'm not sure when we're going to air all of these. So is there something that you would love to share with the creative arts community at Pleasant Valley that we could just be praying for you about?
I don't have anything specific. Very blessed. Health is good. Just a couple things. I just pray that I will continue to extend grace during these fragile times. Kind of when you're.
Now, wait a second. These are supposed to be prayer requests about you, not me or anyone else.
I know.
Okay, I'm sorry. So
No.
extending grace, I find that hard to believe because I don't think I've ever seen you being ungracious with anyone. But
well, family members sometimes it's tough.
So we should be praying for Kelly, is what you're saying.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, all right.
Exactly. We had watched Hamilton on TV, and there's a line in there that you need to speak less and smile more. So that's kind of been my mantra lately. And let's see. The other thing was, oh yeah, I think just trying to figure out, in this next chapter of my life, I want to make it meaningful and glorifying, God glorifying, and I had recently read the book Nearing Home by Billy Graham, and how precious these years are, and so whatever God's has in store for me, I just hope I don't pass it by.
Yeah, so in that book, doesn't Billy Graham recall a story about a flower that only opens at night one time a year?
Yeah.
And so I resonated with that story because like you, I went to college 8 years ago, so but
Me too.
the Old Testament even talks about how the Levites, when they turn 25, they can work in the temple. Not before 25, but when they hit 25. But then when they hit 50, those Levites can no longer be the leaders in the temple. They can assist those that are younger than them. They can still work that way, but they can't be doing the work themselves in the temple. And so, I'm balding.
I'm graying.
I don't know. Okay, so so the second half of your life there, it's just different than the first half.
Yeah.
And thinking through that, I'm just basically saying that I could use prayer in that front too, because it just evaluating the second half, you want to make eternal differences,
right?
Not temporary ones. You want to do things that matter, but it ought to look different.
Yeah.
It ought to look different than the first half. So we can be praying for you about that. Okay, so that and Kelly, we're gonna pray for Kelly.
Yeah.
No, you asked for extra grace. So
yeah.
And then those two things are those the two main ones that we can do? Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be praying for you about that and my balding head.
Yeah. And I appreciate you doing this because I don't know if you're like me. When I attend a funeral, I think, I didn't know that about that person. So I appreciate that we're finding out about each other before the end.
Yeah,
So.
well, hopefully that's not foreshadowing the end of this pandemic here. So
yeah.
I like you though, there's things I think each person that I've talked to so far, I have learned something that I didn't know. They've all shared something. I knew you were adopted. You had shared that with me.
Right.
I had no clue that you were into aviation. So the next time we mask up and talk to each other, I'd love to learn a little bit more. And I want to share my
yes, I need to know
flying
that.
story. Yes. So, all right, everyone, please thank, they're going to be watching this, so I can't really tell them to like thank you now, but we appreciate you doing this interview along with the others, and we're thankful that you're here at Pleasant Valley and a part of the team here, and especially since you've been so steadfast and faithful for so many years. That is uncommon. So we really do appreciate that. We appreciate you.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for joining us today for this interview, and stay tuned for some more interviews coming up in the future.